Welcome to Align Christ-Centered Yoga. My name is Linda, and I'm going to be guiding you through your practice today. Often when I teach, I use individual scripture verses to make points, but context is really important. And so today I just want to draw our attention to the people of great faith in the Bible. And Hebrews 11 is a chapter in the Bible that lists many of these people. Abraham and Noah, Isaac, Moses. All of these people did amazing things for God due to their faith. I'm also thinking about Peter, I'm thinking about Paul, these people who were willing to turn their backs on one life and in astounding obedience to God, move into something completely different. And the thing that really ties and bridges those things together, this faith in God and this obedience to God, is discipline. We fall in love with Jesus, and we begin to step into our calling as sons and daughters of God. But then, as God begins to call us into new ways of doing, new ways of being, we have to stay very disciplined so that we can hear God well. We have to stay in the Word and study. We have to know God's story. We have to stay connected to His people. Often when I'm getting ready to go to my adult small group or my small group with my students, I don't want to go. I just don't. But I'm always really glad when I did. It takes discipline to do the things that we need to do to stay connected to God so that we can learn, grow, and hear Him well. Today in our yoga practice, I'm going to take you into a practice of discipline. We're going to go back to the basics, just a very basic warrior flow, and we're really going to look at all the details. I think often we just lose sight of the need to be attentive to the little things. So thank you for joining me, and here we go. Find a block, a blanket, a towel, some kind of a prop to elevate your hips just a bit. We do this to help begin to release the hips. Find your sitting bones, maybe moving the flesh away. And as we begin today, let's start with the basics of breath. So beginning, just close your eyes and breathe in and out through your nose and just notice where that goes. How shallow or deep is your breath? What is the pace of your breath? Take both hands to your chest and still inhaling through the nose, begin to breathe fully into the lungs. Feel the body expand front to back. Exhale, release. Take 2 more breaths here. Bring your hands to your rib cage, thumbs to the back, fingers forward. Inhale, expand the rib cage. Exhale, contract the rib cage, still breathing in and out through the nose. 2 more breaths here. How wide can you expand those ribs? And then just take hands all the way down to the lower part of the abdomen, right above the pelvic floor there. Take a deep breath. Can you breathe deeply all the way down to the pelvic floor? Can you feel the breath expand into the back of the body as well as the front? And 1 more breath here. Let the hands come to the legs, elbows hanging heavy underneath the shoulders, eyes closed if you're comfortable with that. And inhale down the body, rib cage, lungs, rib cage, diaphragm muscle in the abdomen. And exhale up the body. So can you access all three parts of that breath as you breathe down, inhaling down, exhaling up? Two more breaths here. Let the hands come down to the side. Take a deep breath in, draw arms up and overhead, hands to prayer. Exhale, hands to your heart. Begin to press your hands together just a bit. Let the thumbs connect to the sternum bone. And just check in physically, noticing your alignment. Noticing where you might be a little bit tight or tired today. Check in mentally and energetically, noticing your mental state, your emotions. And check in spiritually, just inviting the Holy Spirit to guide your practice today. Let the hands come down to the legs, one deep breath in here. And open your eyes. If you'd like to practice with music today, get that Spotify playlist going. Go ahead and take that left hand underneath your right arm. Go ahead and press lightly in so your hands are just underneath that armpit and top of the upper ribs. Bring that left arm up, and can you push up from the core muscles underneath the arm? And can you pull down from those muscles? So as you inhale, you're leading with breath, and you're leading from the core up, not from the fingertips or the shoulder. One more time here. If you can't quite access that muscle, maybe you help yourself out a little bit. Just push up a little bit. Pull down a little bit. Go ahead and bring that left hand down. Let that right arm just rise up. Can the arm just float? The core muscle is doing all of the work. One more time here. And release. Same thing, other side. So you're going to press into those serratus muscles. As the arm lifts, those muscles contract, draw in, push up. And as the arm comes down, those muscles draw down the side of the body. Again, pushing up, pulling down. The word yoga means to yoke together. Use breath. Inhale up, exhale down. Let the hand come down to the side. That left arm rises and falls 2 more times. Can it float? Remove the tension from the shoulder girdle, from the neck and the trapezius. As you're ready, release. Take a deep breath in. Bring those arms up, interlacing the fingers. Draw the inside the palms of the hands up towards the ceiling. Walk the shoulders all the way up to your ears. And then just gradually glide the shoulder blades down, wide, down towards the hips. Look up and look down. Begin to release the neck. Find your breath. As you're ready, release. Let those hands come down to the side. Bring the hands behind you. Let the fingertips settle right behind you. As you inhale, see if you can get a little longer in the spine. And as you exhale, can you just lift your collarbone up towards the sky? And as the head comes back, it's an extension of the neck. So you don't want to just drop your head behind you, right? The neck is still supporting the head. You're opening up shoulder to shoulder. This is your back bend. It's your seated cow. Release. Bring the arms forward. Backs of the hands towards me. Hands interlaced lightly. Draw the belly in. Round the back. Tucking the chin. Seated cat. Inhale up. Hands come down. Seated cow. Find length in the lower back. No compression of the lower back. Inhale up, interlacing the fingers, palms facing you. Cat. 2 more times here. Inhale up, palms to the sky. Exhale, cow. Inhale up, palms facing you. Cat. Turn the palms up 1 more time, rise up. Stay here, just hold on to that left wrist. Lift up and over with the rib cage as you find a side stretch. Come up to center and go the other direction. Those sitting bones anchored into the block or the blanket. And release. Go ahead and bring any props that you have towards the front edge of the mat. Take your front leg, doesn't matter which one it is, out to the side. Find your sitting bones again. Turn towards that leg and activate the leg. Bend the knee just a bit, flex the foot. And then as you straighten, tighten up that quadricep, drawing the thigh towards the hip. Flex the foot and push the heel away from the knee. Exhale, come forward. Inhale, come back. 2 more times here. Checking in, notice where you might need to be a little careful. Find your range of motion and come forward to wherever the body takes you. Stay here and breathe. So from here, maybe you can hold on to that leg and bring your forearm wherever it is close to the leg. As you exhale, imagine the elbow drawing in towards the hips. Imagine the hip crease pulling back. Heel presses forward. Keep the knee bent if you need to for your hamstring. No shaking, no struggle. Maybe you even support that knee with a towel or a block. As you're ready, press into your hands and come up. Switch sides, go the other direction. So again, bend the knee, flex the foot. As you straighten out that leg, tighten up the quadricep muscle so this leg stays actively engaged. Exhale, come forward. Inhale, come back. Check in. Lead with breath. And as you're ready, come forward to wherever the body takes you on this side. Still settled into sitting bones, noticing the sensations in the body, honoring that. Again, maybe one forearm comes to the leg, right? Doesn't matter where it is. If you're sitting up higher, maybe it's here. But as you're here, begin to imagine that elbow drawing towards the hip crease drawing to that wall behind you. 2 more breaths here. Gently release. Hands come to either side of the leg. Walk yourself back up. Cross your ankles. Come forward into table pose. So in table pose, some things to consider. The weight is at the base of the first finger, the pinky finger, each side of the wrist. So there's a pocket of air in the palm of the hand, fingertips lightly on the mat, eyes of the elbows turned in towards each other. Feet are behind the knees, snap through the tops of your feet. Press into the tops of your feet, toes press backward, fingertips press forward. Engaging through the abdominals. Find neutral position of the spine. So we say flat back, but we don't really mean that. We mean find that place of alignment, gentle curve at the neck, over the upper back, into the lower back, and over the tailbone. To find cat, draw the belly in, exhale, round the back up, let the head completely drop, tucking the chin. Inhale, start with the muscles of the chest, coming forward through the arms. Tailbone rises, back drops. So now you have a sway back. And remember that that head is still in alignment with the rest of the spine. So I'm looking at the floor in front of my mat. Back and forth here, cat to cow 3 times. As you're ready, meet me at center, at table. Gently draw back, hips to heels. Again, guiding with breath. Excuse me. Inhale up. Exhale back, inhale up. One more time here. Come into child's pose and stay here. So in child's pose, you always want your head supported. So if your knees don't allow you the accessibility of hip to heel, that's okay. You'll find length in the back and support the head on a prop. If you can draw all the way back and get the head down, let that head rest heavy on the mat. Press down into the mat with the forearms and the shins. And breathe into the back of the body, expanding up. One more breath here. As you're ready, come forward into table. Then to find kneeling plank, probably those hands are going to come just a little bit forward. Engage through the abdominals. Can you continue to press through the tops of your feet? This is going to take some of the pressure off the knees. You still have that pocket of air in the palms. So you're going to corkscrew your arm. You're going to bring the elbow facing inward and externally rotate the shoulder girdle. From here, engaging through those abdominals, bring the elbows straight back. So now the elbows rotate slightly towards the front and you come all the way down. Finding Sphinx pose. I like to take the forearms all the way to the outside of the mat. So I believe that that releases the upper back a little bit more. You will often see it taught with elbows underneath shoulders. That's okay too. Come in and out of this a few times. Inhale up, exhale down. Just beginning to wake up the muscles of the back. Can you keep the feet pressed down? And then as you come up into that next Sphinx, stay there. So engaging through the abdominals, my lowest rib is still touching the floor. I'm pressing down through the forearms, and I'm engaging the legs again. So the quadriceps are drawing up into the hips, and the feet are pressing down. As you're ready, release. Bring the hands back to the rib cage. Come up through table to child. So let's go through that flow twice more. Still warming up the body. Come into that kneeling plank. Press through the tops of the feet. Come down to the mat. Find your Sphinx. Hands to rib cage. Come back. One more time, kneeling plank to the mat. Forearms to the side, find Sphinx. Exhale your way back to child. Meet me back up in table. And let's explore downward facing dog. So curl the toes under. I like to come into downward facing dog with my knees very bent and my rib cage touching my thighs. That just allows us to extend from fingers to shoulders and from shoulders to hips without worrying about the flexibility of the hamstrings. Shake the head out, no and yes. Release all the tension in the neck so the head just hangs down. Begin to gently pedal your feet. You're just going to bend one leg and then the other. And as you do that, you're checking in, noticing what's going on in the feet, calf muscles, the hamstrings, the hips. Inhale high. So heels will rise, pressing through the balls of the feet. Stay here. Let the hip crease move back towards where the ceiling meets the wall. Engage the muscles of the legs, quadriceps tight. Let the heels come down to the mat. Breathe in, breathe out. Notice what your downward facing dog is telling you today. Inhale into a full plank. Corkscrew those arms inside of the elbows facing in towards each other. This time finding grasshopper. So the knees are bent. The hips start over the knees. Drop the chest down about 3 inches above the mat. Bring the chest through the arms. Elbows stay below the shoulders. Rise into low cobra. Exhale down. Press through the tops of your feet. Inhale up into low cobra. So I'm resting on my bottom 3 ribs right now. I don't want any compression in the lower back. There's length in the lower back, and the lift is coming from just underneath the shoulder blades in the middle of the back. Can you float your hands and draw your elbows in towards each other? One more breath here. Hands to the mat. Come through table to child. Meet me in downward facing dog. Stay here for 2 breaths. So let's move through that flow one time. Plank. Grasshopper, your modification is your low plank. Low cobra, your modification is Sphinx. Come back through child. And meet me in downward facing dog. On the next inhale, raise your right leg up. Gaze comes forward, foot comes through the hands. Drop the back knee down and up a few times. So you're barely tapping the mat. And we're just looking for an opening in the psoas muscle, in the front of that back hip. As you're ready, let that knee come down, hands to thigh, come up to a lunge. So starting in this kneeling lunge, go ahead and take the muscles of the thigh towards the knee and draw the shoulders back. Maybe that begins to engage this left leg. Right? Curl the toes under in the back, lift that thigh up to the sky, sink into the front hips, knees directly over ankle. Rib cage draws in. Hands to the hips, 2 fingers on either side. Gently just nudge the hips down towards the mat. Hands to the rib cage, draw the rib cage in. Arms rise. Can you drop the shoulders down the side of the body? Right hand to the small of the back. Inhale as high as you can. Exhale into twist. Whenever you come into a twist, inhale first to find length, and then exhale as those oblique muscles wrap around the body. As you're ready, release. Bring the hands forward to either side of the foot, maybe using blocks just behind those toes. Begin to straighten and bend the front leg. So as you find a hamstring stretch, can you find that place just before struggle? Find your edge. So it doesn't matter how much you straighten the leg. You're looking for that place of comfortable tension. Find the stretch, and then look at your back foot. Can you face the toes forward? Maybe drop that back hip down just a bit. And then notice that as you engage the abdominals, the weight comes out of the hands and the body releases. Shake your head out, knowing yes. One more breath here. And release. Front knee comes over the ankle. Blocks come to the side. Back foot comes up to meet the front. Forearms to the thigh. Find length in the spine. So let's find chair pose. Just leave your legs here. Hips drop, knees bent. Arms extend. So they are just in front of the ears, and then the body rises while the hips stay in place. So again, finding the pose, drop the arms. Can you take those 2 fingers to the top of the glutes and just gently nudge them down? Weight is even in the foot. Engage through those abdominals. Arms rise. Neutral position of the spine. Remember the shape of the spine when you were in table. Rise high, mountain pose. Exhale, hands to prayer. Take a deep breath in, arms rise up. Exhale, forward fold. Hands to shins, body comes parallel to the floor. Exhale down. Find your plank. Adjust those elbows in, those shoulders out. Thighs lift to sky. And then find your grasshopper or low plank, low cobra or sphinx. Come back through child and meet me in downward facing dog. So here's another prompt for downward facing dog. It's a modification. If you have wrist issues, you can turn the webbing of your hand between the thumb and first finger slightly towards the front of the mat. So traditional pose, all 10 fingers or all 8 fingers are pointing straight forward. If you want that wrist modification, you just rotate out so that the pointer fingers are reaching towards the corner edges of the mat. Let that left leg rise high. Draw the gaze forward, straighten out the hands, bring the foot all the way through the hands. Bring the back leg down and up. So that left leg is now forward, right leg is now back. Drop and lift that back knee. And then as you're ready, just let that back knee come down to the mat. Hands to the thigh, let the body rise up. So again, just finding lunge here. So noticing what's going on in the right leg. If it's more comfortable for your knee, you can just take that foot flat to the mat right now. You can also put padding under the knee. Muscles of the thigh move towards the knee, shoulders move back. Hip points draw up. Go ahead and curl the toes under in the back. Raise that back leg up, thigh to sky. Sink into the front hip crease. So the shoulders are up over the hips. Again, 2 fingers to the glutes, just gently nudging them down and in. 2 fingers to the ribs, bringing them down and back. Arms rise high, shoulders low. Find the twist. Left hand to the small of the back. Inhale, tall. Exhale, right arm comes across the outside of that leg. Create some traction. Use the muscles of the obliques to find your twist. Stay here for 3 breaths. And release. Bring the hands to either side of that front foot. Bring the blocks back behind the feet if that will help you. And begin to straighten and bend that front leg. As you're ready, extend that front leg. Let the body come down over the leg. Shake the head out now, yes. Looking back, can you turn the toes towards the front of the mat? If you're starting to turn out a little bit, maybe you drop that right hip down just a fraction. Release the tension in the neck. Notice what happens if you engage the abdominals. And as you're ready, bend that front knee over the ankle, back knee, back foot comes up to meet the front. Forward fold. Bend your knees for this first forward fold. So let's lift and lower the hips. Again, just checking in, noticing what's going on in the hamstring muscles. Then find that place of tension, but not struggle, that edge for the hamstring stretch. And find length in the spine. So you're bending from the hip crease, not the waist. Bend the knees a little bit more if you need to find that. Go ahead and take that right hand, thumb to hip crease, press into the hip crease. Bring that hand down, take that left hand up, press into the hip crease. Maybe that draws a little more release. Hands to shins, inhale, body rises up parallel to the floor, exhale down. As we rise into mountain, come up to parallel first, and then push the feet down as the body rises. Hands to heart. Take a deep breath here. Arms up in a Y. Palms facing in, thumbs reaching towards where the walls meet in the corner behind you. Press your feet down. Feet are hip width apart, so let's find that. So to find hip width apart, heel comes to the instep. And then you can just pivot on the ball of the foot. Feet are parallel. One is not in front of the other. Lift the toes up. Feel the pelvis engage, right? The muscles of the pelvic floor engage. Let the toes come down. Keep that engagement, stay strong. Let the shoulders drop, abs in, hands to the small of your back. Find your back bend, so you're going to fully support that lower back, no compression. And then the back bend comes from just below those shoulder blades. Arms rise high. As you come down to forward fold, flat back until you're parallel to the floor. Use those abs and then fold from that hip crease. Body rounds over. Hands to shins, rise up halfway. Exhale. Legs come back to plank. From plank, knees to the mat, child to table 3 times. And as you're ready, curl the toes under and meet me in downward facing dog. Breathing in, breathing out. Check in here for 2 more breaths. Just making any adjustments that you want to. Maybe you're adjusting the hands. Those elbows are still drawn in towards each other. As you're ready, raise that right leg up. Gaze comes forward, foot comes through the hands. Bring the back foot to warrior 1. So warrior 1 pose. The foot is angled, the back foot is angled towards the front of the mat. My pinky toe is touching the edge of the mat. So it's a wider stance. That front knee stays right over the ankle. Exhale the hands down and let's find the pose. So most of us have a tendency to automatically begin to open out towards that back leg. So warrior 1, you want to be able to bring that back hip forward, and maybe that means bringing that back leg in a little bit. That's okay. If you have the flexibility, maybe that front shin reaches towards the front edge of the mat. 2 fingers to the hip glutes. Again, just pressing down and under with the glutes a bit. 2 fingers to the ribs. Ribs come in. Arms rise high. Stay here for 2 breaths. Bring the hands out to the side. Go ahead and bring that right arm underneath that left for eagle arms. Elbows will rise. Shoulder blades and shoulders will drop. Forearms away from the face, chin slightly tucked. Maybe this is where you stay. Maybe you draw the abs in, you bow forward. Inhale, rise. Heart to sky. 2 more times here. Stay in this final back bend. Bring the arms up. And then bring the arms behind you, shoulders over hips, interlacing the fingers. So if this is not good for your shoulders, hands can just come to the sacrum bone. You can also hold on to your forearms. Begin to bow the body forward. You're not over that front leg. The shoulders are square with the hips. So the body's coming down to the center. And draw the body down. This is humble warrior. Release through the head. Breathe in, breathe out. As you're ready, exhale, engage through the abdominals, then bring the arms down. Raise the arms up, back bend. Hands to heart. Back foot comes up to meet the front. Breathe in, breathe out. Find your mountain pose here. And just notice maybe the right side of the body feels a little bit different from the left after that asymmetrical pose. So let's find it on the other side. So take that back leg, that right leg back. Find your warrior, that front knee right over the ankle. Adjust your hips forward, glutes down and under slightly. Again, just the tiniest bit of pressure, your body will know where to go. Rib cage in, arms high. Warrior one breath here. Arms out to the side, left arm under right. Palms together or whatever is accessible to you. Elbows rise, shoulder blades drop, rib cage stays in, forearms move away from the face, chin tucks as you bow. Inhale, rise up, legs stay in place. So as we invest in the discipline of technique, we find release, right? We find protection. Protection for the joints. One more time. Protection for the tendons and the ligaments. As you're ready, let the arms rise and stay here. Find your back bend. Exhale, hands to heart. Take your hands down, interlace the fingers awkwardly, or again, maybe you are doing a modification of this. And then from here, hips square at the front of the mat. I'm just going to hinge at the hips, flat back, and then the body folds over. Can you push through the outside edge of that back foot and draw the inner thighs together and towards the pelvis? Engage through those abdominals. Let the arms come down. Stay controlled. Unwind. Meet me in that back bend. Hands to heart. Back foot comes up to meet the front. Find your mountain. 3 breaths here. Check in. And then next inhale, arms rise up. Exhale, forward fold, hinging at the hips, bending the knees as needed. Inhale, hands to shins, body rises up to parallel. Exhale, down, one leg back and then the other. Find plank. From plank, come down through the flow if you choose to do that, or go directly to child. Everybody take 2 breaths in child from here. And then curl the toes under, meet me in downward facing dog. Check in for a couple of breaths here. So now we're going to work through a warrior 2 sequence. That right leg rises high. Gaze comes forward. Engaging through the abdominals, crunch. Float the foot through the hands. If it doesn't get there, you just pick it up and move it. Rise up into lunge. And from lunge, come into warrior 2. So here in warrior 2, take your hands to your hips. And you're going to bring your hips forward so that they are square to the side of the mat. That front knee will often have a tendency to rotate in and down. Bring it back over that ankle. This back knee will also have a tendency to rotate in and down. As you place weight in the outside edge of the foot, rotate that thigh towards the back. Arms out just below shoulder height. Warrior 2. Drop the back arm lightly down. Don't put any weight on that knee. Bring the arms up and over. Exhale, come all the way overhead and reach for the front edge of the mat, side angle bend. So back and forth here a couple of times, just checking in, peaceful warrior, side angle bend. One more time. And come into that peaceful warrior or that reverse warrior. So are your legs still in alignment? Your hips still forward? Maybe you can take that bottom arm, reach it around the hips, press into that hip crease a bit, and that will give you just a little more stretch and release. Can you draw the back ribs in and down, opening up the rib cage on that right side? And then using the abdominal muscles to come up and bring you over, let's just go into a traditional side angle bend, so that top arm reaching up. So as you draw the rib cage in, again, can you find the stretch as the ribs underneath draw in and up? You find space and length, release in the rib cage on the top side. Go ahead and bring that right arm overhead, stretch long, long, long. One more time, come back to that peaceful warrior. Cartwheel the arms, pivot that back foot. Go ahead and bring the back foot up to meet the front, forward fold. Hands to shins, come up. Halfway up, exhale down. Leave the left leg in place. Take the right leg back to lunge. Inhale up and pivot to warrior two. So make those adjustments we talked about before, bringing the knees back over the ankles. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit. Often in flow classes, you will go from warrior one, hips forward, to warrior two, out to the side. That involves lifting that back foot and moving it. Warrior one is a wide pose. Warrior two is parallel to the wide edge of the mat. So the hips are facing in a completely different direction. When I teach it, I usually teach warrior two from lunge so that you simply have to pivot that foot. Again, details, something to know. If you're going from warrior one to warrior two, you're lifting that back foot up and readjusting it. All right, let's drop that back arm. Front arm comes over, reverse warrior. Side angle bend. Imagine that your back is against the wall behind you and there is no forward motion, just side to side. Work from the center out using the internal obliques. One more time here. As you're ready, stay in that reverse warrior. So again, no weight on the knee. So if you need a little more support, you can put your hand on your hip. Or maybe you have the flexibility and you can come into that half bind. As you're ready, up and over, find your side angle bend. Again, what's that rib cage doing? Can you come in and up with the lower ribs? Can you expand the space between each rib on that left side? Bring the arm all the way forward, stretch, stretch, stretch. Legs are still anchored in warrior two pose. Come all the way up in reverse. Cartwheel, pivot. This time bring the front foot to the back. Strong plank. Eyes to the sky, engaging through the engaging through the transverse abdominals, all the details, transverse abdominals from hip to hip. Knees come down, child to table 3 times. That 3rd time, stay in your child's pose. So as you come into child again, think about pressing down with the arms and the legs, lifting with the breath. And just explore, what does it feel like to have your hands up? What does it feel like to have your hands behind you holding onto your feet? So what's the best rendition of this pose for you right now? Stay here for 3 breaths. Pressing into your hands, rise up. Bring the legs forward. Feet hip width apart, hands to shins. Come into a seated cat, tucking your chin, engaging the abdominals. Seated cow, finding that back bend in the upper back. 2 more times, cat to cow. And then as you're ready, hands underneath, come down to the mat, bring your block to hips. So let's explore bridge pose. So in bridge pose, you want to start with your feet not too close to your hips, because as you lift your hips up, you want your knees over your ankles, not in front of them. Let's go ahead and, if you have a block, place that block just lightly between the legs, just to help stabilize the hips. Bring the hands up, reach all the way up as high as you can, palms facing in, and let the shoulders just thump down. 1 more time. Leave those shoulders in neutral position, bring the hands down to hips, palms down. Whenever you are in bridge, leave your gaze up. Don't turn your head side to side to look at anything if you are up in bridge. Hands press down into the mat, engage the abdominals. You're going to lift from your quadriceps. Tops of the thighs lift up. Can you articulate into each vertebra coming up until you rest on heels and shoulders? And then exhale down, 1 vertebra at a time. So you're just looking to create flexibility in the back. It's okay if you can't find every vertebra. Go a little slower in those stuck places. 2 more times on your own, pressing down with your feet, your shoulder blades, and your arms. Lifting up with the quadriceps. Are you still moving with your breath? When you come down, stay down. Just notice the curves of the spine. Did that bridge sequence shift them? And move the block out of the way. Bring your right ankle across your left knee. So we're going to do one more stretch here. Placing hands underneath the small of your back, can you find neutral position of the spine, a very small arch in the back. Flex that right foot, so both feet are flexed. Draw that right knee towards the other foot, so away from the body. Okay. In that, can you engage the abdominals and keep the hips stable? Keep the arch in the lower back and gently lift the legs towards you. Find the stretch in the outside of that front hip. And then use the hands to support you. So for some of you, hands both around the thigh. Others, one hand behind the thigh, one hand just gently on the thigh of the front leg, pushing that knee away from the body. Think of the lines of the body here. The shin bones, the femur bones, the hips, right to left. Do you still have that tiny arch in your lower back? As you're ready, release and unwind and switch sides. So left leg now across the right. Find it first, hands underneath the small of the back. Where's that back bend? Okay. Little tiny neutral position of the spine. Gently begin to bring the legs towards you. Find the support from the arms. Find the stretch that's right for you. So it's an asymmetrical pose. The hips are shifting as that front leg shifts to the back leg moves forward. One more breath here. And release, legs come down. Gently draw the knees in, give yourself a hug and rock side to side. Hands to knees, begin to circle the knees on the ceiling, releasing any tension in the back. So you have this sacrum bone, it's kind of a diamond shape. So you're just massaging around all those corners. Go the other direction. As you're ready, knees come into the rib cage and away, back and forth here. So here we are just finding the neutral position of the spine, restoring the natural arch to the back. Feet come down to the mat. Arms reach up. Bump those shoulders again, 2 more times. Let the hands come down to the hips. Legs extend long. Turning your head side to side. Settle your head at center. Open the palms up. Find your breath. Again, just think about discipline. Think about the freedom that discipline brings as you grow stronger, as you grow more flexible. Think about the disciplines of faith, staying immersed in Scripture, community with God's people, prayer time with the Lord. Think about a really strong human relationship and how it can start so well, but we can begin to take it for granted. And we can forget to invest in the relationship. acknowledging that the same thing happens with our relationship with the Lord, that sometimes we take it for granted, we grow complacent, we get lazy. Can you use the final minutes of Shavasana to recommit and to reconnect with Jesus? As you're ready, bring yourself back to your mat. Reconnect to your breath. Notice the way that your body has settled. Gently begin to bring movement back. Wiggle fingers, toes, rotate wrists, ankles. On that next inhale, take your arms up and overhead and just reach as long as you can. Right fingertips, left toes, left fingertips, right toes. And then as you're ready, just gently draw your knees in and roll over onto your side. And take 2 breaths here. Taking a deep breath in, come up onto a sitting position. Find your sitting bones again. Closing your eyes if you're comfortable with that. Just notice mind, body, spirit. What have you learned today from your practice? What has changed? Taking a deep breath in, draw arms up and overhead, hands to prayer. Exhale, hands to heart, bowing your head, joining me in prayer. Holy God, we come to you today confessing that we do grow complacent. We take our relationship with you for granted. We forget to look for all of the things that you are doing in our lives. We don't spend enough time in your word, in prayer, or in Christian community. God, we thank you for your mercy and for your forgiveness, for your willingness to meet us exactly where we are, for your willingness to draw us back into your arms, guiding us and moving us forward. God, we welcome the discipline that you give and the disciplines that you have set before us to draw us close to you. It is in the name of Jesus the Christ that we pray. Amen. Thank you for joining me today.